Mga minamahal kong mga kababayan, nakikita po ninyo yung pattern sa mga nagdaang araw. Mas uunahin po nila yung tao na nagmamalasakit sa inyo para palitawin natin ang katotohanan. Ngunit yung taong nasa likod ng lahat ng kasalanan ito ng pagnanakaw, hanggang ngayon ay wala pa po silang ginagawang pag-uusig. Meron na pong isang demanda kay Martin Romualdez na nakabinbin pa April 2026. Yung isa na inakusahan na dating kalihim ng DPWH ay kanilang kinasangkapan upang siya din ay maging state witness. At siya yata ang gumawa ng paraan para ma-discharge siya sa kanyang naunang asunto. So makikita po ninyo, wala na po tayong kakampi. Ang kasalanan ko lamang po yung paglingkuran kayo, kung kasalanan pong matatawag yan. Na humarap sa kanila ng buong tapang para sa ganon ay malaman ninyo ang totoo. Malaman ninyo kung sino ang nagkasala sapagkat gusto nating papanagutin lahat ng mga taong ito. Ngunit kapag ako'y kanilang inaresto, hindi na po matutuluyan. Akala po nila ay maililibing ito sa limot. Ang isa pa pong inaasahan nila ay hindi na po ako makakasali doon sa impeachment proceedings na nakatakda pong magsimula sa susunod na linggo. Sa mga tweet, 2 ibon sa isang putok, mga kababayan. So talagang maliwanag na planado po ito, mga kababayan, kasi 2 linggo bago nagpahayag ang ating ombudsman, sinabi na rin ni Ping Lacson na tila siyam pa na senador ang makukulong. Parang alam na niya ang mangyayari. Gaya po ng nauna ko nang ipinahayag sa inyo. Alam kong gagawin nila ito. Alam kong aarestuhin nila ako. Alam kong ikukulong nila ako. Ngunit hindi po dahilan yan para tumigil ako sa paglilingkod sa inyo. Kasi po iisa lang ang paraan ko upang paglingkuran ng taong bayan dahil sa pagtitiwalang ibinigay nyo sa akin. Malit na bagay po ang sakripisyo na aking haharapin. Kung ang katumbas po nito ay maipakita natin ang kahalagahan ninyo bilang mamamayan ng ating bansa. Kahit po sa mahirap na kalagayan natin ito, mga kababayan, pinakikiusap ko sa inyong lahat, wag po tayong pumayag na basta-basta na lang nila baluktutin ang katwiran. Alam ko po ang promotor nito ay ang ating ombudsman sapagkat nung kami po ay nagtatalo-talo sa bulwagan ng Senado, isa sa amin ang nagsabi na sometimes we have to bend the law. At sumagot po yung ombudsman nang tinanong siya kung tama ang kanyang sinabi. Alam na po ninyo kung yung sinagot niya. Yes, sir. Huwag po tayong pumayag na gano'n ang mangyari. Kahit ano po ang mangyari, ilaban po natin ang katwiran. Dahil ang katwiran po ang magpapalaya sa atin. Ito ang magbibigay sa atin ng tagumpay bilang mamamayan at bilang isang bansa. Naniniwala po kasi ako na kahit sa anong laban, lalo na po yung laban na para sa interes ng ating bansa, kinakasihan po tayo ng ating Panginoong Diyos. At hindi siya papayag na magtatagumpay ang nagbabaluktot ng katwiran. Kailanman ang kasamaan, mga kababayan, ay hindi po magtatagumpay.
That's the hidden agenda. Plunder para hindi makalabas. Para makulong.
Which element of plunder do you think will be hard to prove for the prosecution in this case?
Eh, unang-una, it's not even government money. Private money yun eh. You have to prove a series of transactions leading to that. Paano nila ipuprove nila yun?
Yeah, it's a combination or a series of
tumanggap
overt
lang.
acts.
Tumanggap lang ng campaign funds. O, ano pa?
But one of the co-accused in this case na mafa-filean din daw is the donor, which would be Mike Defensor, apart from 2 other individuals. Do you think there's basis for their allegation na pina-filean sila because they're outspoken against this administration?
I think it's quite obvious. They're hunting down, prosecuting, persecuting those who are very critical of the administration. Yan naman ang kitang-kita ng tao. That's why we have 1 million people there sa Edsa ngayon.
Marcoleta has also pointed to a COMELEC ruling which says, he says it's found that no election offense in his receipt of the campaign donations. How do you reconcile this COMELEC decision that Marcoleta is pointing to with the decision of the Ombudsman to file a plunder case against him?
May inconsistency kasi, di ba? Sinasabing walang case, and yet, parang ang dating sa akin walang case sa COMELEC, pagkatapos tinanggap mo yung pera, hindi mo dineclare. So, you are admitting that you received such amount, and yet you did not declare it. Baka may problema ka dun sa isang kasong yun.
You mean to say, like you said, there could be a graft case in this.
Yes.
Kasi tumanggap siya ng ganitong pera pero hindi niya dineclare sa statement of contributions
Yes.
and expenses
Baka dun
or
siya.
SOSE, and then, or kung wala rin sa SALE niya, that can also be a source of liability. Pero ano yung dapat na approach dito ng gobyerno? And in your opinion as a lawyer, ano ba yung, kung merong mga offenses man, what should the
O
government
hindi
have
file
done?
mo, if it's really graft, di mag-file ka ng graft. Let the court decide whether you committed a crime or not. Pero masyado kasing obvious na critic ng gobyerno ito. Tapos tina-target mo kahit na hindi plunder. Gusto mo i-plunder para ikulong mo.
Na
Yun ang
non-bailable.
obvious. Yun ang obvious.
You mentioned earlier that merong mga statements in the past, si Ombudsman, that they will file cases also against Senator Joel Villanueva and Senator Chis Escudero. From Monday's press conference of the Ombudsman, sabi niya they're still doing case build-up. Yung
Natatawa nga ako doon. In my show kanina, sabi ko, excuse me, Boying. Sabi ko, when you made a statement regarding that, bigla ko naalala, ikaw ang dating Secretary of Justice, sabihin mo, you're not contented with the findings of DOJ, of which you were the head, and you're not contented with yourself. Di ba? Sila nag-umpisa mag-imbestiga sa DOJ.
so are you
Masyadong halata, in other words. Tama na ang pagbabalat kayo ninyo. Kakantahan ko na kayo.
anong
Balat
kanta?
kayo pala.
But sa palagay mo, hindi na itutuloy yung mga kaso against Senators Joel Villanueva and Chis Escudero just because they switched to the new majority?
Actually, hindi natin alam yan. Pwede na lang i-delay. Pero, maaalala ng tao yung mga pangako mo na papile na mo tapos nagkaroon lang ng switching ng political loyalties. Hindi ka na gumagalaw.
What about the decision to make former DPWH Secretary Bonoan a state witness? This was also announced by the Ombudsman on Monday.
Ibig sabihin niya, wala silang kaso. Kailangan mo ng testigo. Basta ako, natatawa na lang ako sa kanila.
Oo, pero hindi ba...
Para sa impeachment yan 1,000 na yata dadali nila abogado. Ibig sabihin, wala kang kaso.
So you're saying na yung pagdagdag din ng mga abogado sa prosecution is a sign of a weakness of their case, or what is your
It's a
interpretation?
confession you do not have a case.
Or could it be na maraming ebidensya, kaya kailangan
Naku,
damihan yung
anong
lawyers?
ebidensya? What kind of evidence do you have? Yun lang sa testigo Can you imagine you have the same common witnesses? Anong ibig sabihin yan? Kasi your witnesses are supposed to damage yung kalaban mo. Kinuha ng kalaban mo, di ibig sabihin, walang kwenta yung testimonya mo at gagamitin pa against you.
So you're optimistic that the case against Vice President Sara is not strong?
It will fail.
And you're saying that with confidence. Why?
Kasi obvious naman yung walang basis Kahit tingnan mo sa confidential funds, tingnan mo sa Ilgato, lahat puro wala. Na-discuss na natin ito ng ilang beses sa programa mo Talagang walang kaso Talagang the goal is to undermine Inday Sara, to disqualify her.
Wala
as a
bang
candidate.
kaso? Kasi yung confidential funds, they also are
It's
calling
not a
for...
final decision.
What do you
How
mean,
can you-
not a
Hindi
final
pa,
decision?
di ba? Nagkaroon ng decision daw na irregular. Pero subject to, to appeal, review. At nag-file na sila.
You mean by the Commission on
Yes,
Audit?
paano ka makaka-file?
What about yung mga assets and cash na hindi niya na-declare ni Vice President Sara sa kanyang salin?
Sinasabi ng abogado niya na na-declare niya sa ibang ibang line. Di na-declare pa rin.
So you're saying na pagka nagkaroon ng trial, you're confident that all of these will be clarified?
Yes. Kasi tingnan mo why are you going to declare your assets kung hindi mo ma-justify yung legitimacy ng acquisition mo? Nilagay mo nga sa salin eh. Hindi totoo na hindi nilagay. Pinaliwanag ng lawyer, hindi. Nilagay namin yung sa other assets. O anong masama doon? In the same document, nandun.
Mabalik tayo doon sa INC rally that's being held, and it seems like it was triggered by the Ombudsman's announcement that they will be filing charges against Senator Rodante Marcoleta. Marcoleta has suggested that the timing of the Plunder case is intended to prevent him from participating in the impeachment trial of Vice President Sara Duterte. Do you see any objective basis for that claim?
First, I do not think that the Iglesia ni Cristo is staging this lightning rally for and in behalf of Marcoleta. They've been doing that. They've been staging rallies and protests against the government for a failed governance, for accountability and all this stuff. Matagal na yan eh. Kasama lang si Marcoleta dyan. Pero hindi yan talaga ang goal ng Iglesia ni Cristo. Gusto nga nila, we want to be united. Magkaisa na lang tayo, huwag na tayo magulo. Ayaw nila ng gulo eh.
But kung hindi nag-announce ang Ombudsman yesterday na magfa-file sila ng plunder cases against Senator Marcoleta, would this rally
Yes.
still have happened today?
Oh, definitely.
The timing. So, naplano na ba
Matagal
ito?
ko nang naririnig yan eh. Akala ko nga noong 28 pa eh. Matagal nang pinag-uusapan yan.
But why didn't they obtain a permit? Parang wala daw, according to the information we've received or heard so far, parang wala daw permit for the rally?
Hindi, unang-una, tama yung ginawa nila na hindi nila in-announce. Kasi pag in-announce mo yan, maraming blockade yan, hindi na sila makakapasok dyan. Kung magiging prepared ang subject ng demonstration mo. Kaya tama yung ginawa nila. Saka you don't need a rally for that.
So this is just, in your opinion, a constitutional right of
Yes,
assembly?
definitely.
Ano ang magiging point nitong rally na to? Because right now, we see already thousands of people in Edsa. And doon sa Liwasang Bonifacio, the crowd is also growing. Pero wala pa kaming naririnig kung ano yung dahilan for the rally.
Ay, sinabi na naman nila ang dahilan na continuation yan eh, ng mga rallies nila noon. Same reasons for staging rallies. Protest, condemnation, a call for a change. Lahat yun ang point ng rallies.
With the Iglesia ni Cristo publicly expressing their support for Senator Marcoleta, I saw the statement of their spokesperson and also calling out for the accountability of those involved in the corruption, in the massive corruption that they are mentioning na nangyari dito sa Pilipinas. What do you think the government...
Di ba? The government has
What
stopped.
should they do? But
The
before you
government-
answer this question, we'll have to take a short break. At the forefront, we'll be right back. Welcome back at the forefront. We continue our conversation with Attorney Salvador Panelo. Attorney Sal, I'd like to read to you and to everyone watching yung naging
Yes.
statement ng Iglesia ni Cristo spokesperson, Brother Edwil Zabala. He said, in part, hindi tutol ang Iglesia ni Cristo sa pagpapatupad ng batas, pero tutol kami sa pagbaluktot sa batas, lalo na kung ang layunin ay para pagtakpan ang katiwalian. Gaya ng alam ng marami, si Senator Dante Marcoleta ay nanguna sa pag-iimbestiga sa isa sa pinakamalaking pandarambong na naganap sa ating kasaysayan. Ang ipinagtataka namin ay kung bakit siya na nagsusulong sa pag-expose sa mga sangkot sa napakalaking pagnanakaw sa Pilipinas, ang kakasuhan at ipapakulong sa halip na ang mga na-expose. Ang ikinakaso kay Senator Marcoleta ay plunder na isang non-bailable crime. sa makatuwid, ipakukulong siya at hindi pwedeng magpiyansa hanggang hindi natatapos ang paglilitis sa kanya. Sa madaling salita ay hindi niya maitutuloy ang paglalantad o pag-expose sa mga nasasangkot sa pandarangbong na naganap. So, given this statement, what do you think the government should do? It's clear they're already saying ano yung mga criticisms nila.
Well, I think it should not proceed, but I don't think it won't. It will proceed.
What will proceed?
Yung pag-prosecute kay Senator Marcoleta, ang pagpapakulong sa kanya, maliban pa sa you're stopping the investigation. Kasi whatever happened to the investigation, bigla nilang ininto. Ang nakikita ko pa dyan, konektado yun sa impeachment. Kasi hindi ba gusto nilang babaan yung threshold ng 2/3?
2/3 that
Para pag hindi
that
ka
would normally be 16.
Pag hindi ka makapag-participate, suspendido ka raw, babagsak yung magiging 14 na lang. Konektado lahat yan.
But how do you think this will shape public opinion moving forward until the impeachment trial? Because it looks like the government's powers are also being used to influence the outcome of the impeachment trial. If we're basing it on what you're saying, na ipapakulong na galing doon sa minority para mababaan yung 2/3 threshold for a conviction that's required by the Constitution.
You will only escalate the rage and the anger, the fury of the people. Kasi alam nating lahat, nagalit na ang tao sa ginagawa ng administrasyon. Hindi ba, -15. Ang bagsak na ng kanilang rating.
You mean is this the President's approval rating?
Yeah, yung administration mismo, di ba? -15. Ibig sabihin, talagang there is a failed governance at ang tao is asking for a change. At sa halip na magkaroon ka ng pagbabago, lalo mong pinalalala ang sitwasyon. That's why people are so angry. They are almost on the verge of revolting.
But your opinion as a lawyer, would putting Senator Marcoleta in prison along with Senator Jinggoy Estrada lower the voting required to convict Vice President Sara?
Constitutionally, that is wrong. The Constitution says it's 2/3, whether nakakulong ka o wala ka rito, yung 24 senador ka pa rin. So, para sa akin...
You're saying 2/3 of all members,
yeah, all members,
of Senate?
24. So, 16. Saka isa pa, kahit pakulong mo yung 12, hindi nila makukuha yung 16 votes for conviction.
So parang those that are absent are a type of abstention,
No, parang
in
gano'n.
your opinion. Pero what would it take for them to bring down the voting requirement? Would it just be the Senate impeachment court declaring that they have brought down the votes, or would the Supreme Court need to decide on this matter?
Well, it's a constitutional issue, so it's the Supreme Court that is the final arbiter.
And when it comes to the impeachment trial, you wrote an article that Senate President Win Gatchalian should preside over the impeachment trial even if he's not a lawyer.
Yes, because you don't need to be a lawyer. You need only common sense, you need intelligence, you need objectivity, you need an unprejudiced mind. Ang nakikita ko siguro, baka tingin nila kay Gatchalian hindi nila kaya. Kaya hahanap sila ng kaya nilang i-manipulate. Kaya ng mga bumaliktad.
You mean to tell me ang movement to have a different presiding officer other than the Senate President is because someone wants, or you're
tingin
alluding
ko,
to a group na gusto nila,
Sa
nakokontrol
tingin ko,
nila yung presiding
sa tingin ko,
officer?
Itong si Gatchalian, sa tingin ko, the way, mga demeanor niya, hindi, parang siya, independent-minded siya.
So you're saying nakikialam ba yung administration? Is
Ay,
that what
dati na.
you're implying?
Matagal na, I'm not implying, I'm saying it.
Okay. But Senator Win Gatchalian, Senate President Win Gatchalian, has a sibling that's in the cabinet of the President, Secretary Rex Gatchalian. And he also has a brother na nasa Congress. Won't that affect his independence?
Hindi rin eh. You know why? Alam mo yung tatay nila, di ba yung sa reclamation, hindi makakuha ng lisensya despite the four children in the government. Hindi sila binibigyan. Ano mas wala impluensya.
So you're confident that if Senate President Win Gatchalian is the presiding officer, he can be independent and he can
Yes, I think so,
be
yes.
competent.
Given his demeanor as a senator, given his statements, palagay ko marunong ito. Tsaka madali lang naman yung
Kahit may
mag-present, di
mga
ba?
objections on the floor
Oh,
na
sabi
legal
nga
ang
ni
basis.
Paolo ko, ayun kung may objection kayo sa floor, di mag-decide yung mga senador. Kasi the presiding officer need not rule na siya lang mismo. Pwede naman yung, kaya nga kayo mga judges, senators, hindi yan sa courtroom na iisa lang nagde-decide. Di ba?
Yeah, but in the past kasi when I was at the impeachment in the defense team for Chief Justice Corona, then presiding officer, Senate President Juan Ponce Enrile would decide on the objections and rule on them.
Because the senators themselves agree. Kung hindi mag-agree, di overrule siya.
Yeah. Wala pang naging announcement ang Senate as to who will be the presiding officer. Would you have any information if it will be Senate President Win Gatchalian?
But the Senate President Win Gatchalian has already issued a statement. I'm prepared for this. I've studied this. Nag-aral sabi ko nga, tingnan mo lang yung mga previous impeachment trial, marami kang matututuhan.
So it's likely that it might be Senate President Win Gatchalian that will be the presiding officer.
I
in the
don't think
impeachment
he
trial.
will allow himself to be ousted from that position of being the presiding officer. You know, it's a historic role and there is honor on it. Let us not deprive him of that. Magantay kayo ng panahon nyo. Ang problema sa inyo gusto nyo lang tanggalin si Mr. Gatchalian dyan.
And then last question, you're seeing right now on the screen
Yes.
how many people are gathered
Million.
sa EDSA. Napakadami. It looks, we don't know the exact number, but they're already in the thousands. Do you think that the ombudsman will still push through with filing a plunder case and then arresting Senator Dante Marcoleta without bail, considering the show up that we
Tutuloy
saw
nila
today?
yan. They were able to do it with the former president. They have done it to Inday Sara. They're doing it to everyone against them.
Thank you so much, Attorney Sal Panelo, and thank you for your insights today.